Hello, good morning, and happy Saturday. My name is Meghan Maes, and I'm a lawyer in the state of Minnesota. I come here every Saturday at 10 to talk about family law issues and issues about the court. This does not make me your lawyer, but I am here to give free information and free resources. If you have a question that you want to ask, go ahead and join the group Being Civil in Minnesota on Facebook, and you can post your questions there anonymously, and then I can answer them here. If you do want to stay up to date with the information that's being shared, you can join the YouTube channel, Being Civil in Minnesota. I believe this is our 42nd episode. I don't know how many Hitchhiker's Guides to the Galaxy fans are out there, but 42 is a very special number. Today, I want to thank Jamie, who asked a question about father's rights. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. The topic that we're talking about is father's rights, but the term is paternity. And paternity is establishing the legal father for a child, typically in cases where the parents are not married. And in order to establish that legal relationship between a non-birthing parent and the other parent, there's two different ways to do that. One is a recognition of parentage, and number two is you can go to court and ask the court adjudicate you the father. Why does adjudication matter? Why should fathers know about this? Well, if you want to participate in a child's life, you're going to have to take the steps to adjudicate yourself the father of that child. In the state of Minnesota, it has been determined that mothers, I think because they birth the children, it's very easy to identify who that parent is. There has in the past been some adjudications where somebody turned out not to be the father. And so this is kind of a protection, but it is an extra step that dads do have to take. So why do it? Participation, medical history, sharing of that kind of information is becoming incredibly important as they make steps in mental health, inheriting certain traits or things that are passed down. That medical history can be really important. Inheritance and benefits. So if say one of the parents becomes disabled, that child would have a right to receive some dependent benefits being the child of that parent. So lots of very good reasons as to why you may want to be adjudicated. So I said there's two ways. The first way is called a recognition of parentage. It's a very simple form. You can find it online. Most of the time, that is given as an opportunity to sign when you are in the hospital. And hi, good morning, Peter. That's a great question. Peter asked, what impact does a recognition of parentage have on the requirement to pay child support? It has a big impact. Hey, good morning. It has a big impact up until the point that a recognition of parentage is signed or an individual is adjudicated the father. There is no legal relationship between them. So the recognition of parentage establishes that biological relationship. They get on the birth certificate, but they will be required to also follow through with the responsibilities of being a parent. And part of that responsibility is financial support. So the recognition of parentage also has to be filed with the Minnesota Department of Health. If it's not filed there, it's not technically a recognized recognition of parentage. When you sign a recognition of parentage, you are waiving sort of your rights to contest the paternity, to request genetic testing, to go to court. If you have signed a recognition of parentage and you determine or you have concerns that you may not be that child's biological parent, there are ways to undo a recognition of parentage, but as you can imagine, they are not very commonly revoked. So there's a very short time in which you can do that. And I believe that the reasoning behind that has to do with what that child is experiencing. If somebody's going to come into their life and then just leave when they're 12, that's absolutely not something that would be in that child's best interest. So recognition of parentage, you can sign it at the hospital. It's a whirlwind. If you've ever been to a birth, all kinds of papers, all kinds of people in the room. If you're not sure, you don't have to sign anything that day. There's a second way to establish that relationship, and that is through the court process. And a court process may be required if the mother of the child does not want to sign the recognition of parentage, or perhaps if there's more than one individual that wants to be adjudicated the father of the child. Now, I am not here to judge anyone. There are certain times where a parent will get pregnant from someone else and they're married. That can create a very interesting situation where when you're married, that individual is presumed to be the father. That's not always the case anymore. Some people stay married for a variety of reasons, but are no longer together. And one interesting thing about that situation is that the spouse, in order for the actual father to be recognized, would need to sign a similar piece of paper that says, yes, I know I'm presumed to be the father, but I also know that I have not, I'm not actually the father. So they would sign that piece of paper, and then those would both get filed. If there is that kind of complicated situation, or the other individual is not willing to sign the recognition, then you do have to go to court. And you don't necessarily need a lawyer, but there are certain circumstances in which low-income individuals can be appointed an attorney only to the point of adjudication. Now, one of the other questions that Jamie asked about this recognition of parentage is, how does that relate to custody and parenting time? Custody and parenting time are separate legal issues from being adjudicated, having that paternal relationship with your child. And so there is a second step for unmarried fathers to have establishing a custody arrangement, which is how decisions are made, and a parenting time schedule, which is where the child is at what time. That would be the schedule. So those things are asked for once paternity is established, and courts will look at what is in the best interests of the children when making that initial establishment of custody, labels, and parenting time. There's a lot more information out there on lawhelpmn.org. They have a lot of great information. If you have additional questions about this topic, you can go ahead and put them in the chat, or you can post on the video, and I'm happy to follow up. If you've got questions for next week, please join the Facebook group, Being Civil in Minnesota. Thanks, everybody, for stopping in this morning and for your questions. Have a great rest of your Saturday, and I'll see you next week.